Welcome to the Alain Elkann interviews, an unprecedented window into the minds of some of the most well-known and respected figures of the last 25 years.
Today we are with Whitney Bromberg Hawkings. She is an entrepreneur and she is the founder of this incredible venture called FLOWERBX. But you come from Dallas, you are Texan, you worked for many years, I guess 20 years with Tom Ford in different, when he was at Gucci and later on in communication, you were vice president of his company. But why, when you were still at Tom Ford, you decided to move to this new venture, which is FLOWERBX, and we would like very much to know what it is, if you can tell us with your own words.
Sure. So I was working for Tom. I started out as his personal assistant at Gucci, literally my first job out of school. And I left Gucci with him and ended up as his senior vice president of communications at Tom Ford. So it was a real journey with Tom. And first of all, in fashion, as you know, flowers are very much a currency, and it's how people communicate with each other. And the type of flowers that you send says a lot about the person who's sending them. So I found there was a real inconsistency to floral gifting, and I wanted to create a flower brand. The same way, you know, if you at Gucci, you go to Gucci in London, you go to Gucci in Tokyo, you go to Gucci in Milan, and you're getting the same consistent branded experience. You're getting the same beautiful ribbon. You're getting the same note card with the same printing. Even the store staff is wearing the same uniform and the same cologne. You know,
you have the same flowers?
Yeah, so we have the same flowers, but what I wanted was to give like you saw the picture and that's what you sent, not just whatever the florist happened to have in the flower shop. Then
and
also,
which was the kind of flowers that Tom Ford liked the most?
Well, this was what was amazing. The morning of the Gucci show, literally, Mucha would send pale pink roses, always. Karl Lagerfeld would send white orchids, always. Calvin Klein would send white calla lilies, always. But none of them were like a bouquet. None of them had a big mixed arrangement. They were all beautiful single stem bunches of flowers. So I thought Anna Wintour would send white roses. Riccardo Tisci would always send deep, deep, deep red roses. But that was it. Not a bouquet, just beautiful single stem bunches. So I thought, if all the most fabulous people in the world are sending these single stem bunches of flowers, why is it so hard to get florists to do this? And why are you spending so much money on it? Then also, you know, I wasn't a mom at the time, but as a working woman and as a working mom, I also found myself when I was having friends over for a dinner party, I was ordering my food online, I was ordering my beauty online, I was ordering my clothes online. But if I wanted to buy flowers for myself, not a gift, I didn't want to go to the flower market. I didn't have time to go, you know, in Paris to Rungis or in London to the Covent Garden Flower Market. You know, there I was in a pencil skirt and stilettos because I had Tom in the office at 9 a.m. So I wanted to buy flowers online the same way I bought other sort of services in my life online, in a really consistent, really chic, really beautiful way, but not a florist. I didn't want an arrangement. I didn't want a bouquet. I just wanted 10 peonies on a side table or 5 hydrangea on a, you know, or whatever was seasonal and beautiful. I just wanted that really simply, loosely arranged on a side table. So I started FLOWERBX.
But, you know, many people still have, you said about going to the market or, you know, for instance, the city where you live, which is London, is full of corners where there are people who sell flowers, you know, and the same happens in Paris, in Italy. Or isn't it also nice to go and look for the flowers and say, today I will make this or that, and see if they were fresh, not fresh, seasonal?
Well, first of all, they're not fresh. Because the reality of that business model is if you don't sell them today, you're going to sell them tomorrow. If you don't sell them tomorrow, you're going to sell them on Friday. If you don't sell them on Friday, maybe Saturday, you'll still sell them. So they're not fresh. Ours are literally cut to order. So you order flowers today in London, right? Tomorrow morning, they're cut from the growers this afternoon. They come on a truck from Holland tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. We recondition them, repackage them, send them to you tomorrow. So they're literally cut for you, and they literally last at least a week, but usually up to 10 or 12 days. So there's value in that. The business model means we have zero waste. So that is essential. And so all those little shops you're talking about, 60% waste for a florist, traditionally. So like food waste, it's completely damaging to the environment. And then lastly, those people, they mark up the cost for waste because they're throwing away 60% of what they buy. They're charging you for it. So yes, I do like the idea in a perfect world of going and picking beautifully fresh flowers. But the reality is that business model is charging you for the excess. It's wasting a lot. And if I'm having a baby shower for a friend who's having a baby boy and I want to buy 40 blue hydrangea, you can't guarantee that that's going to be there. Do you know what I mean? So I think with FLOWERBX, you know it's getting cut for you, it's coming straight for you, and it's fresher and better value.
So I understand the philosophy, right?
Right.
That motivated you, right? Why should we buy books at Amazon and we can't buy flowers, you know, in this sense, no? That
It's more elevated and a better business model and kinder to the environment than Amazon.
But also because I saw in your studying what you do, that during this coronavirus time, the pandemic time, as much as people use a lot WhatsApp or Amazon or any kind of online thing, they also increased the buying flowers through FLOWERBX.
Yeah, we did. We saw a huge increase in sales. We were up sort of 700% year on year throughout the pandemic, and it was quite amazing.
700.
Yeah, it was amazing. That said, half of our business before the pandemic had been B2B. So like Dior, Vuitton, all of the businesses, we had a lot of hotel contracts. That obviously went to zero because people weren't having events. They weren't having weddings. They weren't having, hotel contracts completely went to zero. But the good news is our B2C business, the direct to consumer business, did increase 700% throughout the pandemic. So that helped us.
Right, because people want flowers at home.
There was a working from home thing. There was a connection thing. So like, I can't be with you on your birthday. I can't be with my daughter on her. I can't. So gifting increased, but also self-purchase. So we saw a 50-50 split between gifting and self-purchase. But I think that's where we're very different than other online florists, because most, like if you go to some terrible online florist to send a gift, you would never go to an online florist to buy flowers for yourself. So what's really remarkable about our business is 50% is people self-purchasing. So I want to have weekly flowers in my house, on a subscription of flowers to the best seasonal flowers every week at my house. And 50% is I miss you, I love you, happy birthday. But during the pandemic, it stayed about the same, which I thought was really interesting.
So flowers are still a very important way of communicating, right? Communicating.
Connection.
Of partying,
Yeah.
of decoration, and so on and so forth.
Really well-being. It's funny. It's not funny at all, but the tragic news of the past sort of 4 or 5 days, our sales have completely shot up. But I think you need a thing of beauty. It's something that actually makes your life better and happier, or it can tell nothing conveys emotion the way that flowers do. So nothing can say, you're sad, let me cheer you up. Nothing. There's no physical thing you can send to someone that says, I love you, or I'm thinking about you more than flowers.
And even if the world is very much changing genre and what we're going through, I mean, particularly women still like to receive flowers, right? In Valentine's Day or things like this.
But
nowadays there are also lots of men, as much as there is a fashion for men, which didn't really exist before, or cosmetics for men. I mean, now men and women have the same needs. So flowers may become something that men also like to receive.
I think it's a lot like a designer candle. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you wouldn't pay 50 or 60 pounds to have a beautiful candle in your house, and a man never would. Now every man has it. You have a designer candle. Every man it's something that means you're sort of sophisticated. It's like wearing beautiful cologne. It's having flowers in your house shows. It's like having beautiful food in your fridge. I think it shows that you're that type of man.
You would place your kind of flowers and your kind of business into the luxury world. I mean, into the, as much as you said fashion or...
That's what happened because that's what I know. So it's like my friends... we're friends in the fashion world. I knew all the editors of all the magazines because they were my friends, because that's who I worked with for 20 years. So I think quite organically and naturally it spread around the fashion world because that was my universe. And people say fashion people aren't loyal, but I have to say they all really helped spread the word at the beginning. Sort of the first year, I was like, oh my gosh, I have this sort of amazing business without just...
Now, can you explain me how does it work? What did you do to start it?
Yes. So I was still working for Tom. I thought I was going to start it as a side business, which was completely unrealistic. But I thought, I'm going to keep my beautiful job. I'm going to keep my fancy office and my fancy salary, and I'm going to have this side hustle, and I can pay someone to sort of manage it. But it became very clear, first of all, after 3 or 4 months, that it had a lot of potential. It was only going to realize its potential if I quit my job. And it needed someone to drive the vision of it.
And Tom understood that.
Well, I had a baby too. So I was pregnant. So I was pregnant with my third child, and I started this business, and I had a full-time job working for Tom, who's like a very intense person to work for. And I had the baby, and then after like 4 weeks, I emailed Tom and I said, can we please meet? And I've never asked him in 20 years. I never said, can we have a meeting? Because I was that sort of low maintenance. Now all the kids in the office, they want a meeting every other week. Everyone wants to have a word and have a chat. I never did, 20 years. And he just wrote back like in huge letters on the email. He wrote, uh-oh. And then I walked in and he started crying. Then I started crying. It was like the great breakup. Because we were so connected, but he completely understood. And he's like, you've got to go do this. He said, I knew I couldn't keep you forever, which was so nice for him to give me the blessing. And now, of course, we do every Tom Ford store, we do every Tom Ford house, we do every Tom Ford gift.
And how did you organize? How does it work?
Well, it started out as a direct-to-consumer flower business. How it works is it's so lean, honestly. We started it with 50,000 pounds of capital, like nothing. We have a warehouse in Acton, which I'm sure you've never been to. It's like an industrial estate. And literally, when I say warehouse, it's like, now it's a lot nicer and it's a lot bigger, but it's a warehouse. It's like a garage. Like, we didn't have heating. We didn't have a toilet. So you order the flowers. I went to Holland.
Because these flowers come mainly from Holland?
All the flowers in the world.
We're talking about Europe now, right?
70% of the flowers in the world go through Holland. So what's crazy, we don't do this, and we're working on getting much closer to the source with our supply chain. But if you buy hydrangea, sometimes Colombian hydrangea in New York, they go through Holland and then to New York. So Holland's like the clearinghouse, the auction for all the flowers in the world, most of the flowers in the world. If you buy Thailandese orchids, they go through Holland.
Because we thought that Holland was only selling tulips, right?
It's where all of the growers go to sell their flowers. So if you're buying Kenyan roses or Ethiopian roses, they go through Holland.
So you buy in Holland?
Yeah, so I went to lots of different suppliers because there are big conglomerates that are the suppliers of the flowers. So I went and met with 5 or 6 of them, found the one that I liked and was most aligned, that believed in us, actually. Because here I was, like this pregnant lady that's like, I'm going to start a big flower business. And a lot of people are like, yeah. Especially in the flower industry, which is quite a traditional industry. And then we chose a partner that seemed most aligned in values and could grow with us, because I wanted someone who could scale with us as we scaled. And luckily, they've been a great partner. So we place an order. Say we place an order for today. So
I am a client and I want to send white roses to someone. What should I do?
You go online. You go on FLOWERBX.com. It says the postcode, enter the postcode of where you want to send them. So now we deliver in 23 countries across Europe, and we deliver on the east and west coast of the U.S. We will deliver nationwide across the U.S. soon. So you go on, you choose your country. So you choose Italy. You go and choose Italy. You put in your postcode. Then it shows all the items that are available in Italy. Because of the nature of flowers and seasonality, not all items are available in every territory all the time. So you choose your postcode, then it'll show you the selection of flowers you want to pick. So you pick pink or white roses, pick white roses. Then it'll give you the nearest delivery date, which would probably be, if you ordered today, in 2 days for Italy. And not in the UK. In the UK, you could order them today. And then you would enter your gift note if you wanted to enter a gift note. And you would enter your credit card details. You would say, wow, that was so easy. And press complete order. And then the flowers would arrive and they would be beautifully packaged.
And how does it work for you? When I made the order, I made it to you.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? Do you, of course, flower box?
Yeah, luckily I don't do this anymore. Now it's turned into a machine that I've got an amazing team. But so say supply order cuts off at midnight last night. So all the flowers that are ordered for that day, they're all compiled together. So there's 7,000 stems of pink roses. There's 6,000 stems of tulips. So that's all put in a supplier order. It goes to our partners. They amalgamate all the orders, send them on a truck to Holland. The truck from Holland comes. It arrives at 5 o'clock in the morning at our warehouse in London. Our team in London, so we now have a team of, they do quality control check. They make sure all the leaves that are, anything that's not perfect, they wrap them beautifully and then they send them out. We send them out. We have all electric vans in London. So they go out in an electric van to you.
How many vans you have in London? How many people work for FLOWERBX?
Now we have 5 vans in London. What's great about is we can scale up. So we have partners that can help us scale up. Like on Valentine's Day, we needed more than 5 vans. On Mother's Day, you do 10x literally on a day or on a weekend. I mean, Mother's Day will do sort of 20 times our normal sales volume, but then we have partners that can help us scale up.
Now we're talking about London, but if the flowers have to go to Berlin, or they have to go to Madrid, or they have to go to Rome or Paris, how do you work?
So we have a warehouse again in the Netherlands, in Holland, in the auction house. So it's right next to the flower. So you order for the Netherlands, or you order for like south of France, or you order for Italy, they're packed by our team in the Netherlands. Again, it has to be our team. It has to be our quality control. So the difference between us and other players is they use local fulfillment. So they find a florist in Italy to fulfill it, or they find a florist in Paris to fulfill it. We fulfill the order. We carefully package the flowers, and we send them to Italy via UPS.
You have a lot to do on transport, right?
Yes,
this is the main thing.
It's a logistics business.
So when there was a pandemic, how did you do it? I mean, when there was no movement and nothing going on.
I have to say, people are like, oh, it's really hard being an entrepreneur. But you're like, okay, so let's throw Brexit in. Let's throw a pandemic in. And now let's throw like supply chain issues in. Let's throw inflation in. It's literally like 4 of the worst years, the most challenging years. But the good news is we have a very resilient supply. We didn't stop one day throughout the whole pandemic. The main thing that could have really killed us was if the warehouse teams got wiped out, but we were super careful, and miraculously, we traded every day. There was like 3 weeks in the U.S. where international planes were canceled. So then we just shifted our supply. So we got all of the flowers we would normally get from Holland, we got from South America.
And which is the bestseller flower?
Peonies are like, when peony season comes, it's literally just like the cash register just keeps going.
This is the spring, right?
Yeah, it's in the end of April. We just like count the minutes until peonies come back in season. And then it's 90% of our sales, but only for April, May, June, and then they're done.
And then you have dahlias.
Then we have dahlia, but yes, and the overall bestseller is always the pink sweet avalanche rose. It's like our season, it's always in the top 3, always every single week of the year. So it's like a very popular, the price point's right.
Which one is very popular?
Pink sweet avalanche rose. It's like, it always performs. It's always perfect.
Because I thought that the rose was the flower that people...
Pink sweet it's always one of the top. But then like for now, a tulip is always going to be in the top 3 in the spring. What's nice is we're very seasonal. And I love that, it's like food. You eat asparagus in the summer and it's beautiful and it tastes amazing. And then you eat it in November, it doesn't taste nice. So we only sell what's seasonal and really of the moment and the best and optimal of the season.
Yeah, but nowadays you can eat blueberries all year long.
And they don't taste nice though, do they?
Or avocados or whatever.
I know, but they don't taste nice.
So you only sell them when they taste good.
We only sell them when they're the best and they're going to last. Because the problem is, too, if you sell peonies when they're not in season, it means they've come from Australia or New Zealand, so they have more air miles on them. They've usually been frozen, like food. So they look pretty, and then they're like, they die.
There is a difference between, for instance, peonies, roses, and orchids, because orchids last longer.
Yes.
You buy one orchid, you will have it for a month, let's say. If you buy roses, they last a week.
Yeah, but if you buy sweet peas, they last 5 days, but they're so divine and so beautiful. Or even dahlia, they'll never last as long as a rose or an orchid. But you buy them because I think the fact that they die quickly just adds to their beauty. And you can only enjoy them for a minute. Or lily of the valley, those beautiful fragrant flowers.
And is there a difference between the 2 coasts in America, between European countries and America?
That's really interesting you ask that, because I thought there would be very different sort of buying habits in the U.S. But they're all people like us in that they want quality. They know what's in season. They want, I don't know, I feel like it's a very discerning customer that understands what we tell them is what's the best to buy. So there have not been, and they sort of are attracted to what's most beautiful and what's most seasonal of a month or of a week. So no, there haven't been. It's been very consistent, surprisingly.
In your way of thinking, if I understand well, you don't like mixed bouquets, right? You like single flower bouquets.
Yeah.
Either it's roses or peonias or dahlias or whatever. Why?
First of all, I don't think there's any way to go wrong with that. Even whatever flower, if you even say carnations or mums or flowers that aren't traditionally beautiful, if they're on their own, they always look beautiful. the chicest house in the world, if you have a beautiful bunch of deep red mums, they're going to look amazing. The second you start mixing, and I'm not saying mixing is always bad, but I think you need to be an artist to mix. The same way I think you need to be a chef to mix a whole bunch of different ingredients and make them taste beautiful. But if you have the most beautiful tomato and the most beautiful mozzarella, the best quality you can buy, and you put them on a plate, it's going to taste beautiful. And it's that simplicity that I think I'm trying to echo with FLOWERBX. If you have the perfect ingredient, you just need a vase. And you stick it in, and it's not.
Some people have a definitive taste or idea. They send red roses to show passion, or they have white flowers or pink for other occasions, But how do you make the choice? Why should you have yellow, red, pink, or white roses, for instance?
But you make the choice. So you go on the website and you choose what you want to send. And what's nice about FLOWERBX is that's actually what you're going to send. It's not going to be whatever the florist wants to send. If you send 50 red roses, you are sending 50 perfect quality red roses. That is it.
And you like better long stem or short stem flowers? What people like the most?
Roses long stem. We only sell really good quality. So we only sell grade A quality flowers. So roses, they're always long stems, sort of 70 centimeter stems. But I love those beautiful. I love hyacinth. I love spring flowers, and they're usually shorter and really fragrant.
Flowers have to go into vases.
Yes.
And you deliver the flowers with the vase, or?
Well, I also remember at Gucci and Tom Ford, literally I remember there was a sink in the kitchen that had like 60 of those cylinder vases that like people would send. They were just basic 3-pound vases that you had a bunch of and you didn't want to throw them away, but they weren't particularly beautiful, and you would never have it on a counter by itself because it's not a beautiful object. So I thought when I started FLOWERBX, first I wasn't going to sell vases. Then on day 3, people are like, oh, do you sell that with a vase? And I was like, obviously we need to sell vases, but I wanted to do vases differently. And I wanted to sell vases that were beautiful, that would be a gift by themselves. So I wanted vases that even when the flowers were dead, the person was going to use the vase over and over again. And it was going to be, something beautiful in their house. So we launched a collection of vases, and now vases are 15 to 20% of our sales consistently. You can add vases to any flower. So when you go on the website, it will tell you the vase that matches the flower that you're ordering, and you can add it on for an additional price.
And you are the designer of that, or you have special people to do that?
Sadly, we don't have enough volume yet to make our own vases. So I've chosen the vases around the world that we buy from suppliers. We buy from this amazing Danish ceramicist that makes these beautiful ceramic vases and has been making them for 200 years. So I want quality, and I want.
And how much the cost of a bouquet increases because of the vase?
It's funny because I can tell you're a flower lover from this conversation. You clearly have bought flowers and know flowers. You will find on FLOWERBX the prices are half the price of a fancy florist, but just as beautiful. I mean, actually more beautiful and better quality. So roses in a vase that I would feel comfortable sending to the Queen. Literally, like that level of beauty would be, I'm just thinking what our lowest entry would be, probably 70 pounds, the entry point of roses in a vase.
But how many you send?
Well, you would send 25 roses inside a beautiful vase. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm around 75 pounds.
And the cost of transport is
included in the price.
So what you pay is net.
Yes,
that's it. If you send it abroad, and there is no
prices
tax.
are included, complimentary delivery for all of our products.
And which are, besides Imagine London, but which are your main points? Your most important clients? Are they in
London and Manhattan and LA are our biggest territories, and those are the ones that are sort of still growing the fastest and most consistently. But since the pandemic, our national sales in the UK they've grown enormously. So I think this word of mouth is spreading. I think also some people have moved out of London, so they're helping, spread that word. But that's definitely where we see the biggest potential for growth is sort of the US and the UK.
When you say that you have clients like hotels or fashion shops or companies, what does it mean? That they send flowers every 10 days and you have a kind of routine?
What's amazing is they come on board for an event. And then, like, for example, Dior, we do their events, we do their gifting. So there's a lot of client gifting for the store. So on the VIP's birthday, or, I'm sorry, your shoe broke, here's some flowers. So we do all their client gifting. And then we do, like Gucci, for example, we did 200 workshops for their VIP clients where they would send the flowers, and we did a virtual workshop for their VIP clients. We do huge events for Vuitton in Versailles. We did, a 200,000 euro floral chandelier down l'Orangerie at Versailles. So literally
in the front of the Annabelle's.
Front of Annabelle's, we've done that.
In Berkeley Square in London.
3 times we've done that. So it depends. It's sort of, but what's great is also Netflix does all their gifting with us. So for them, they want a white label, really cool, slick packaging and experience. So
why Netflix?
Because they gift, whether it's like an actor has a birthday, because they have their whole production. So whether it's, they do a lot for team, and a lot of brands now, especially with teams working remotely.
And how do you find the clients? I mean, you make marketing research.
Well, it started out, what's quite remarkable is for the first 2.5 years, it was literally just me talking to people and the people that I knew. Now we have a PR in the US, and I work with the lovely Christina in Paris, who works with a lot of brands. So she brings a lot of brands on board, even brands that I don't know. For example, we're doing a big thing with Mont Blanc, and that's, so for like them, it's Mother's Day gifting. They want to gift all of their UK mothers a gift with a new pen. A lot of brands that send out a fragrance, a lot of beauty, a lot. So say La Perla, we did a big thing for Valentine's Day. They sent out gifts to their top clients.
So what are the big moments? Valentine's Day, Mother's Day?
And then Christmas is big too. Christmas very big. We do trees and wreaths. Like wreaths, we sell thousands and thousands and thousands of them. The wreaths that you put on the front door, la corona, is that how you say it? And they're quite amazing. And also, it's really hard to find one unless you go and spend 200 pounds at like a Belgravia florist. It's really hard to find a beautiful
wreath. So you
wreath.
mean your prices are very advantageous because you sell the same flowers or the same luxury presentation
Exactly.
and a great florist.
But you're not paying for the waste, and you're not paying for this shop, and you're not paying for the florist, and you're not paying for all the things that other people are charging you
for. But
for.
what you said, for instance, I take an example. I don't know London, but let's say in Paris, there's a famous florist called Moulier Savard, right? He's very famous.
That's who we used to.
So people of a certain level, they like to buy flowers there because it is a brand.
Yeah.
But the brand means what? That they have the best flowers in Paris, right? And then the word of mouth makes that if you don't send them from there, you're out of...
What I think
you are trying to build this idea for FLOWERBX. I mean, that one has to buy from FLOWERBX
yes.
to be in the ball game.
I think it's not the Moulier client that wants to go and spend 300 euros on a bunch of flowers and be surprised by some bouquet of white stuff they're going to send. I don't think that's not the client I'm trying to fight for. I'm trying to fight for the client. Well, even when I used to send Tom flowers in Los Angeles, okay, I would go to the most expensive Los Angeles florist. I would spend $350 and I would always say 10 hydrangea. That's it, because I knew that's what he wanted. But I'm like, this is crazy. Because it's not 10 hydrangea. I know what that costs. It does not cost $350, but I know that I wanted to send this specific flower in this specific way. So
what is your brand meaning?
My brand is people who have good taste, who care about quality, who care about the environment, who care about no waste, who don't want plastic. They want a fully compostable bouquet. Everything's sustainable. Our water pads, compostable. Our flower foods, compostable. We compost all of our green waste. Our packaging's fully recyclable. There's no plastic in our packaging. You go to any of the florists, it's like the cellophane. Also, with that bouquet that you're talking about from McQueen's or Moulier or any of the other fancy traditional florists, it's like you have to have a vase that's that high, that's that wide, that you can put the flowers in. It's not like, oh, wow, you want to put them in that beautiful turquoise vase there. You can put 4 stems there, 10 stems in your kitchen, and it'll, so it's a different concept and it's a different price point. And I always liken it in my head because I've done a lot of trying to understand where we sit. It's not the person who's going to the most expensive 5-star Michelin restaurant for dinner. It's more the person who's going to the River Cafe, who wants to wear a pair of jeans, a beautiful jumper made out of beautiful quality, eat a beautiful tomato and mozzarella, and then a pasta pomodoro, but the best quality. It's not the person who drives the Rolls Royce. It's the person who drives the Tesla, who cares about quality, but also cares about the world and also cares about the slick experience and also wants a smooth online experience, a smooth delivery service, a smooth way to consume flowers. So that's how I've done a lot of trying to understand who we are, and that's sort of who we are.
There are several types of clients, right? I mean, there are the clients who consider flowers a good message for Christmas, for presents, or they go out for dinner at someone, instead of bringing wine or something, they send flowers, right? This is one type of client.
Yeah.
Then there are classical, and this kind of client can change their mind. But then there are things where the flowers are essential in the church for a wedding or, sadly, for a funeral. Yeah. There are things which never go out of fashion and that they are in the tradition, right?
Yeah.
And this is a market that you have.
During the pandemic, we saw funeral flowers increase, by like 70% throughout the pandemic. And a lot of that was because Interflora couldn't deliver, because Interflora was based on local fulfillment. And if a local shop was closed, they were closed. So the florist in Malmesbury was closed, then Interflora couldn't operate in Malmesbury. But we, mercifully, because of our business model, were able to. So I think we're quite well insulated because people always need flowers. I think it's sort of like the lipstick during the war. Like, it's the little thing that you can buy that can make you feel better, and people are still going to buy it. And whether you're rich or poor, even if you've lost, a lot, or even with inflation, it's still the little thing you can buy that's going to make you feel better or make that person feel better.
Altogether, it's not a very expensive gift.
No. Our price point starting is £35, which, again, I would send to the Queen. And I would not send £35 Marks and Spencer flowers to the Queen. Nor would I send £35 flowers from the guy on Eaton Square or whatever that square is there. I wouldn't send those flowers to the Queen for £35.
But what is your ambition for FLOWERBX? What is the ambition? I mean, now you have a very strong UK market, you have a European market, you said you have more than 20 countries, you're selling on the two sides of the East and West American. What is your next step?
The next step is to drive growth across the U.S. because we just did a Series A fundraising round and raised money to grow in the U.S. So we have outside funding. So we've raised millions of pounds to help. We have investors that help us. We have great investors. They're really supportive. They're really big brand ambassadors. Natalie Massenet, who founded Net-a-Porter, is one of our investors. Alex Chesterman, who's a UK unicorn 3 times or something. He did Zoopla. He's done Kazoo, the used car marketplace. He's exceptional. We have amazing investors. There's a really great Italian fund called Lumar Ventures. They're investors in our most recent round. So they just have bought a percentage of the company to help us grow. So now the main focus for the next 3 years is to really drive growth in the U.S. because it's a big place.
What is your turnover at the moment?
Well, last year was 10 million. This year, the target in dollars, I know it all in pounds, is double that.
Like 20 million?
Yeah, give or take, yes. So we're aiming to really grow 100% year on year for the next 3 or 4 years.
Are you going to try to sell also in Asia?
That's what's next for me. So once
or in the Arab Emirates or in...
100%. I will try and I will succeed. What I don't want to do is lose focus on the U.S. because the U.S., if we get that right, is the biggest, most important market. And we're already, in year 2 in the US, we're doing year 5 UK numbers. So it's growing faster and the appetite is there. And as we know, Americans sadly don't have very good taste. So in general, there isn't a beautiful offering in the US. There just isn't. So I think there's a real opportunity to become the only florist.
But they have amazing bouquets in America. When you go into a hotel, some hotels or restaurants or shops, they have
that are thousands. There's no solution for people like normal people. If you want to send beautiful flowers in New York, and I've done it for years, it's like at least minimal $300 a bouquet, usually $400. And you go to the fanciest florist and you feel what you send is beautiful. Same with LA. You cannot go and spend $100 anywhere in New York and someone like you and feel confident with what you're sending to someone important.
Instead, with you, one can be confident. You said $300. You would sell
half of a normal florist is about the benchmark of an upscale florist. But for example, the Mark Hotel in New York. So we do all their flowers every week in the hotel, but then they also have that beautiful flower cart out front of their hotel, and they have it branded FLOWERBX, and that's the brand. Like they're proud to have that brand at the corner of 78th and Madison.
So that's FLOWERBX.
Yeah, and it says it in a huge, I'll show you after we chat. It's permanently on the corner, and the mark is that proud of the brand. So I think that gives confidence to people like you or people like me that if I'm sending FLOWERBX, I'm buying into the magic of the Mark Hotel or the Annabelle's Facade or the Louis Vuitton send out. So I think the brand association is now such that people know they're sending quality, even if they're not spending $300 or $400 on a bouquet.
It's true that, especially in hotels, they have the Mark, the Claridge's, and many others, they have large bouquets in the lobby or in the dining room, but then they also have flowers that they send into the rooms, for special clients or for people who...
Exactly. So the Mark, in their penthouse, when they rent out the penthouse at the Mark, which is, I think it's like $26,000 a night or it's VIPs that rent out the penthouse for the night, but they always have, the flowers in the bathroom and the flowers by the bed and the flowers on the kitchen table. So it's a huge, really untapped, people that don't want to do the traditional, like the Mark, which I actually emailed the owner of the Mark, the Sembahars, and I said, I love your hotel. I love your aesthetic because it's exactly sort of aligned with your floral aesthetic because it's very simple, it's very clean, and they're like, we love what you do. We love your aesthetic. And so I met the owners, and they're like, we love you, come and work with us. And we've done a lot with them. She just hosted a lunch with me and Jacques Grange in New York in December. So they're very, behind us as a brand, which is unique for a B2C flower business to have this B2B brand association.
But then you're telling me, that of course flowers are everlasting thing, they're very much part of life, even if they are they a luxury somehow, right? But that can be affordable on many levels. But you said that, for instance, now that we are in the middle of a danger of war, that people watch TV and they see these horrors around the world, then they don't feel like buying flowers.
No, they do. And I think...
You said you didn't sell.
No, but the past 5 or 6 days, they've gone crazy. You've seen a tangible increase in sales, even from like the Valentine's Day period. I just think it's a little thing you can do that makes yourself feel good. So I don't know if they're thinking, oh, this news is so bad, I'm going to buy myself a treat. But I think there's something, what am I going to do? I think we're all being a lot more careful about how we consume things. Like, it doesn't feel good to go shopping the way it used to feel good to go shopping. You know what I mean? Those sort of immediate gratification things, because you feel like, oh, I'm damaging the world and I'm damaging the environment. So flowers are something, especially if you buy them in a sustainable way, that you can feel, it's like a little pick-me-up. But we also did... On Monday, we are donating 100% of the proceeds of sunflowers, which, as you know, is the flower of the Ukraine. So 100% of the proceeds from sunflower sales are going to help the Ukrainians in this situation. And we have raised tens of thousands of pounds in 2 days. Tens of thousands. We have sold so many sunflowers. Normally, we've sold hundreds, and I'm so proud and so happy because it was immediate and everyone shared it on social media, and like a lot of like people with hundreds of thousands of followers. And we've literally raised tens of thousands of pounds in 2 days of just sunflower sales.
Which means that people, after all, are generous.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to buy something beautiful if you know that 100% of the proceeds is going to a cause that's important.
And now that you have this new venture, right, that you are into the flowers, first of all, which is your favorite flower?
I have a favorite flower every season.
And which are they?
Right now, ranunculus. They're so pretty. They're so beautiful. And then it'll be peonies when peonies come in season. And then it'll be dahlia in late summer. And then it'll be hydrangea. And then it'll be ranunculus again.
But the seasons are not the same. If you will sell tomorrow in Brazil or
no, I know.
Other countries, it will be summer and winter. So
I know.
They'll have different...
But hopefully by then I'll be able to hire like a local expert, no? Someone who knows the market.
From fashion to flowers. Is there a big difference?
No, I was so nervous, to leave my career of 20 years and to leave this world I knew so well and I loved. And I was so happy to be a part of it. But it's exactly the same people. It's the same person that cares about beauty, that cares about, quality. It's the same person that buys the beautiful Brunello Cucinello jumper, that buys beautiful flowers for their home, that buys beautiful olive oil. It's someone who cares about quality. So it's the same person. And it's people that care about beauty. So literally all my clients are the same clients that were the clients at Tom Ford, or the same clients at Dior, or the same clients that care about, luxury. And not even luxury, I would say beauty.
So what did you need to do this move? Courage?
Yes. Courage and a good husband, I think.
Your husband still works for Tom Ford.
My husband still works for Tom. And he's he's a creative. So he's very much helped me with the visual, creative image of FLOWERBX.
And are your children involved in that?
Yes, you'll see. I'll show you the Mother's Day campaign. My poor daughter on her half term was modeling as the child in the ad campaigns. They're very involved, and I think they're super proud because they've seen it. Literally, I was pregnant when I started it. So as my little girl, who's now 6, is growing, she turned 6 last week. The company is growing, so she's quite literally my flower girl. And it's nice. They're very involved in the growth. They're super excited and proud of me. So
the whole family is excited, and the house is full of flowers.
House is full of flowers, always.
You always lived in London?
No, I lived in Paris. So for 10 years, I worked for Tom in Paris. We would do Saint Laurent in Paris, and then Gucci offices were in London. So I would do a week in Paris, a week in London with Tom, every Monday on the Eurostar, every Friday back with him.
Is there a big difference between Paris and London, and also in the taste for flowers?
Oh, you know this as well as I do. I thought it would be easier to launch in Paris, but now when I go back to Paris, I'm like, what was I thinking? There's a fleuriste on every single corner. There's not a florist probably within 20 minutes walking from you, is there? There's that Neil Strain on...
It's strange because the English people love flowers.
Yeah, but there's not a way to go and buy flowers. If you go to Neil Strain, you go and spend £400 on a tiny bouquet for that.
So your business goes better in England than it does in France?
Yes, and you know
Italy.
the French, they want to go to boulangerie and buy the little boulangerie, buy the little croissant, and then they want to go to the boucherie and buy the little steak, and then the fleuriste and buy the... But it's beautiful, and that's what I love about Parisians, but bien sûr that they're not going to go and buy flowers online. It's like sacrilege.
And this is also for the Italians and the Spanish?
No, the Italians are great. Germans, much bigger market because they're more used to buying things online.
And the Northern Europeans, like Swedish?
They do, but it's not a market that we put a lot of energy in. Not because it's not important to me, but I just have such a limited resource, and I'm such a limited resource that I sort of go more naturally to what I know and to a language I speak and to people that I know. Because I have, I have friends or I have connections in those places.
So if you have to make a statement, ultimately, because of your double experience, you think that flowers and fashion will never end? Gosh,
that's a bold statement. I think flowers will never end. Flowers have been inspirational to artists, to musicians, to poets since the beginning of time. Flowers will always inspire fashion. Fashion will change, I think, and fashion is changing. And
How is it going to change?
I think it will change because it should, and I hope it becomes more quality-led. I hope it becomes, I hope fast fashion literally just disappears. I hope that people buy more meaningfully. I hope that designers and luxury brands find a way to not produce so much all the time, but it's such a machine now. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but I think fashion needs to change for the world, but flowers don't.
But there is no fashion in flowers, or there is fashion in flowers? I mean that in one generation they only want white roses, and the other one they only want...
Totally. And it's like now there's a fashion in doing the roses, sort of pulling all the petals back and doing that sort of architectural floral arrangement. What I want to do is create timeless flowers. So I want to be the beautiful cashmere cardigan that you're wearing right now that you could wear forever. I want to have the best quality of the most beautiful flowers. I don't want to be fashionable. I don't want to be this season where it's all about this. I want it to be timeless, beautiful quality flowers.
And obviously, be costing half of flower shops. You make flowers more affordable, right? So you are also trying to make more and more people able to have flowers.
Exactly. And to have beautiful flowers where the experience is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Alain Elkann interviews.